Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dad's Turn to Talk. My name is Bob. And for those that joined us last week, we had a very special guest, and we're keeping with that tradition to this week, and we have another special guest with us. But before I introduce our guest, I want to go ahead and introduce my two co-hosts. And we're going to start with the man who makes Sleepy from the Seven Dwarfs look like an energetic character. Josh, how you doing tonight?
I am very sad, Bob. It is a dark time. You know, to quote Yoda, the shroud of the dark side has fallen. I think I am very depressed over Star Wars. Star Wars is dead to me after what I watched last night. They finally got to me, but I'm glad we're doing this tonight.
Oh, Derek, you should have heard him today. When he called me today, this was the first thing out of his mouth.
It finally happened. I'm having a total nervous breakdown.
I'm telling you, I'm not lying there, Derek. He was really upset on this one. So I know he's got a lot to vent here.
I've got hate, I've got anger, I've got suffering. I'm headed to the dark side any minute now.
I feel like here you need to edit that meme of James Franco with the noose going first time. That was me.
It got me. It got me.
So, well, Josh, hopefully we'll have some therapy here and you'll feel better by the end of this. The second co-host I want to introduce is the man who is the spokesman for Rogaine. And his wife let him come out to play tonight. So,
a little bit.
Derek, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, thank you, Bob. Josh, I would tell you to, there's always Marvel, but I don't know if that's going to really help things.
No.
You know what, Derek? I'm glad you mentioned Marvel because a couple of weeks ago we did talk about X-Men '97, and we talked about the cards that
finally happened. I'm having a total nervous breakdown.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. But we were talking about the cards that we collected. And I actually found my masterpiece collection.
Oh, that is awesome. Yes, the Wolverine one. Yeah. The Wolverine. That is cool.
That's
I wanted to share that with y'all.
I remember Nightcrawler vividly.
Yeah, I remember Wolverine.
More
That's
here.
Crazy. Look at that.
So yeah.
That's Silver Surfer, right?
Yeah.
Looks like
I found those kind of digging through some stuff, and I thought you guys would want to see that because we're talking about the cards we collected, and I found those, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I still have them. So,
by the way, Bob, make sure you tell your parents I'm fine. Okay, I'm fine. This is me talking to you guys.
So, Derek, my parents, they watched the show last week, and they're like, "Is Josh okay?" And I'm like, yeah, he's fine. Because he looks sick. It's like, and so I told Josh, he's like, what do you mean I look sick? What's wrong with me?
Like, what?
I'm like, no, he was just tired. And I don't blame him, especially after
I was about to say,
been watching lately.
That was before the third episode of Acolyte.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is when he was healthy.
Yeah. And I have a 7.5-year-old. I'm tired all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, gentlemen, it's good to have the both of you. Now we want to introduce our guest. Now, this is somebody I've been talking with for about a year and a half, a couple of years now through social media. We met, just turned out we had similar backgrounds, similar interests, and we kind of got to talking. So we're consistently talk pop culture and movies and TV as the stuff comes out. And lately she's been causing an uproar over on X for getting people all riled up one way or the other, and we are glad to have her, the one and only Lily. Thank you for joining us tonight, Lily. How are you doing this evening?
Welcome.
I am so glad to be here. Like, as soon as he asked me, he's like, hey, would you? Yes. Yes, I will be there. It wasn't even, I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, yes. I'm like, especially.
I told her we'd be talking House of the Dragon, and she's like, oh, yes. Yep. I'm there.
And then the Acolyte. I was like, oh, yes. I have some more thoughts that I discussed.
God.
Yeah, I'll join that show.
Jeez.
Yeah. I got a lot to say.
Lily, speaking of the Acolyte, did you see the latest interview given by the Disney execs earlier today?
Oh my gosh. Do we even want to know? No,
yeah, I
it's
actually
been
brought
kind
a
of
clip.
busy day today.
No, I actually brought a clip of that here. Let me show you this here.
Please, Pittsburgh. Nothing to see here, please.
So,
Oh God.
You
So,
wouldn't be right
yeah,
about that.
it seems like things aren't going too well over at Lucasfilm right now and Disney, but yeah, I mean, they seem calm about it. So I think maybe it's not as bad as it looks, but we'll find out. So, well, Lily and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and get into our first topic tonight. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and start by talking about the activist. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong button here. We're going to be talking about the Acolyte. No, the Acolyte. Josh, what is the name of this thing?
Oh God. The Acolyte.
Well, jeez. All right. Yeah, the Acolyte.
Horrible.
Let me get. Okay, we got it here. So we're going to be talking about the Acolyte, and we actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and where we talked episode 1 and 2. And Derek, you were kind of indifferent to the Acolyte at that time, and Josh, you said it wasn't too bad, probably because Josh, or as Josh said, his expectations were so low, they just pretty much had to say a sentence in and and not mess that up, and it exceeded his expectations. So since then, quite a bit has happened with this show. And Lily, you are our guest, and we want to get into episodes 3 and 4. And I want to go ahead and let you start. What did you think of episodes 3 and 4 of The Acolyte?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm pretty sure Bob already knows this, but my favorite character is Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. So as soon as they revealed to us their big thing that May and Osha were actually created through the Force as well, that's where I completely lost it. I was like, nope, I was willing to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. So far, this has just been meh. It's been super boring, but it hasn't been too offensive. As soon as all of that started, I was completely out. And then for episode 4, again, another more lore breaking with Master Kiadi Mundi. The rest of these episodes, I'm just going to get through because I have to watch them for a stream, but I don't care anymore.
You see, Josh, you're not alone. She's watching it for a stream.
Yes. At first, I was like, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that great, but maybe we might get some cool stuff. I will give it to, I don't know the actor's name, but we call him Master Squid Game.
Yeah.
But he's the only person I feel is actually trying in that TV show. And I feel so bad that he learned English for this role. He's actually a Star Wars fan. He took a lot of inspiration from Qui-Gon and for nothing to end up on this show. So, yeah.
Honestly, the smartest character to me was Master Torben, the one who drank the poison so he could get out of the show quick enough. Because I think he had the right idea here. Maybe even Carrie Ann Boss had it quicker because she left in the first 5 minutes.
Yes. So,
good Lord.
The short version, I don't like the show.
Jeez. So now Derek here, he is not really a Star Wars fan per se. He's watched as much as he can of the films and whatnot, but he never really got into the shows or anything like that. You watched The Mandalorian, right? And that was pretty much about it.
Yeah. So really, I think my Star Wars, when I was a little kid, I was all about it, right? 1 through 6. I mean, not 1 through 6. I'm sorry, 4 through 6. That was my jam. I had a Star Wars tent that I had on my patio that I camped out in. I had R2-D2, C-3P. I had I think I had every action figure that wasn't a human. I had no Han Solo. I had no Luke Skywalker. I had no Darth Vader. I had everybody else. I had Ewoks, all of them. But then, when I saw 1, 2, and 3, and 7, 8, and 9, I just missed. That was when things just dropped off. What Bob told me, I wasn't missing much.
Nope.
So,
nope.
I caught Rogue One and I caught The Mandalorian, and that's pretty much where it ends for me. So I guess I got most of the good stuff. except now. But it was a good run until then.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of these episodes here? If that's coming from a non-fan, this is coming from a normie here.
Yeah.
All right. So my wife actually decided to watch with me because now she's she's excited about the idea of the fact that like I have this podcast and now we have homework. And she's like, "Oh, what are you guys watching?" And I'm like, "You don't want anything to do with this." Really, my wife doesn't like any like Star Wars, Harry Potter. Harry Potter she can put up with, but like Transformer, like Lord of the Rings, like anything, like House of Dragon, forget it. She's not going anywhere near that. Marvel, nothing. So she wanted to sit down and watch this, and I'm like, I don't think you want to watch this at all. She goes, no, I want to watch. So we watch, and after episode 3, she goes, what exactly was that? And I'm like, I'm
the power of many.
No, yeah. And she goes, wait, this is Star Wars? And I'm like, yeah, this is it now. And she goes, that doesn't seem like it's what it's supposed to be. And I said, you should join our podcast because we've been talking just about that. And that was pretty much the minute when I got done with episode 3, that was what to me felt like this was not only not Star Wars, but they tried to take some pretty powerful themes from Star Wars and run it off a cliff. And I didn't know exactly like once that happened, now I'm kind of like, well, everything I watch after this is probably going to be also terrible because now that they've kind of stabbed it in the heart this way, I mean, I agree with you, Lily. Why watch now? Except if you have to, which is the position you are now in, which sorry about that, but that's what I thought of 3. 4, I'm not even going to get into because honestly, I started like drifting off, and I'm like, I'm only doing this because I was. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Josh, I know you have a lot to say about this. So, all right, let's have it. What'd you think of episodes 3 and 4?
It's gonna be a lot of talking here. I hated them. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to the 80s, shall we? Bobby and I always, I don't know, Lily, Bobby and I have known each other since we were 5 years old, okay? We always talk about when the original Star Wars was re-released in theaters. I thought it was 1984. He said it was later. My first image was C-3PO coming down and going into the oil, and saying this bath will feel so good. I was hooked. Prequels came out. Bobby and I watched them together. I loved them. Okay? Phantom Menace was my least favorite. I liked Attack of the Clones more than Bobby did. Loved Revenge of the Sith. 2 favorite Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith. Those are my Star Wars. Always been, like you, a Darth Vader fan. I'm a Luke Skywalker fan. Then George Lucas sold it to Disney. And Force Awakens came out. And Force Awakens, I was okay with. I did not like Han Solo dying. There were some issues. And then Last Jedi came out. And your buddy there, Bobby, calls me up after seeing it. And I said, so how was it? Was it great? And he goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not lying, Lily. That was my response. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
You knew exactly what that was.
He said, Josh.
You know what it was, Derek? Is that I'm like, I kept thinking to myself, there's no way I don't like a Star Wars film. Surely that's not it. So I'm like, I don't know. I kept thinking maybe there's something wrong with me here.
Yeah.
Right. So I go and I see it. And I see Princess Leia as Mary Poppins. I see jokes all around. I see this villain who I thought, okay, we got a cool villain named Snoke, die within 1 minute. I see Luke Skywalker cuss out the Jedi Order, wants to burn it down, wants to kill his nephew because he thinks there's a little bit of evil. Yet he was fine with his father. And then they kill off Luke Skywalker. And I'm like, huh? And Bobby even said, excuse me, whatever you think was going to happen, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So bad of a movie that to me, Rise of Skywalker, which was horrible, is watchable to me to this day because I hated what they did with Last Jedi, even though Rise of Skywalker is horrible. Then I thought they were coming back with The Mandalorian, and we had the first 2 seasons. And Bobby calls me. I was out of town with the family at a house, and he says, "You got to watch the finale of season 2." And there's Luke Skywalker, and I'm thinking, yes. We can forgive Lucasfilm. It's good. Then they come out with Book of Boba Fett. And I'm like, huh?
Notice he doesn't even call it Boba Fett. It's just Boba Fett.
It's whatever it is.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And we have, oh, by the way, Rogue One and Andor, excellent. And I'm thinking there's hope. Then I waited for Ahsoka. And because I had seen all of the Clone Wars, all of Star Wars Rebels, all of Bad Batch. First 5 episodes of Ahsoka were okay. Then it got worse. They added things that I don't know why they added. And I wasn't going to watch The Acolyte because I had heard of all the things that Leslie Heddleston or whatever the heck her name is
Headlamp.
was saying about insulting George Lucas and doing this and saying we're going to put the Jedi in a different light. And I wasn't going to watch. And then for some reason, I had to talk to my 2 best friends and open my mouth and say, let's do a podcast together. And that guy in the Adidas hat right there said, okay, then we got to watch The Acolyte. I got to watch it for my show, and we got to watch it for your show. And yes, the first 2 episodes were okay. They were not insulting. Then episodes 3 and 4 happened, Lily. And
It was just.
I can't even describe what I'm feeling, especially even with last night's episode, when all I can think is hearing the Sith have been extinct for millennia, and all of a sudden, there's a Sith Lord with a red lightsaber clearing house. I'm telling you all this, they all have to die. All of those people had better die before getting to the High Council, because Phantom Menace will mean nothing.
Well, it already means nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's just so bad. And then the pronouns they had to use last night. And then she's like, oh, I want to be with my sister. This has been the year of stupidity. This broke me. They don't know how to write. They don't follow protocol. That gentleman right there with the glasses on, who I've known since college, is all about comic books and knows how to, says you have to follow things. I'm telling you, I'm done. I can't deal with people not. It's ridiculous. So that's my line. That's what I thought about it.
All right. Well, let me let you all know what I thought about this.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's only one way to describe this.
I burped up stuff better than this.
So,
I thought we were going to get crap, and more crap, but
this was pretty bad. In fact, over on my other channel, I gave a review of this, and I brought a small clip of this just to let y'all know kind of what I thought about it. What my it's just a quick recap of my review. So. This thing is trash. I have never, even if you were to take the name Star Wars off of it, this is not like just a bad Star Wars show. This is just a bad show. It's badly acted, badly written, badly designed. Some of the droids in the first couple of episodes look stupid. Several of the decisions that the characters make absolutely no sense. Now, if we're focusing on these 2 episodes here, 3 and 4. That's what they did in episode 3. It was just laughably bad. The whole ceremony where they were the 2 sisters were going through their ascension or whatever it was. It was laughably bad. I literally laughed out loud. And then when the mean Jedi show up to steal their children away, they're like, "Oh my God, they're here to take our children!" And I'm just like, what? And so then you got Master Soul, he's showing her the lightsaber and Lily, did you see Drinker's review of the episode?
Yes,
So he's
I
like,
did.
why would you show her this lightsaber and give it to her? Aren't you afraid she's gonna turn around and like cut her own head off or something?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So they've got this going on, and then the whole line where the two sisters, when she turns around and says that I'm not gonna let you leave, and she's like, well, how are you gonna stop me? I'm gonna kill you. And I'm like, you're what, like 6, 7 years old, and you're like, I'm gonna kill you, and she sets fire to her room, ready to burn her sister alive. I'm like, who wrote this? And then the very next episode, we're supposed to believe that out of nowhere, with no story arc whatsoever, she has a change of heart. Well, I'm just gonna turn myself into the Jedi. I don't need to kill them anymore. I can go be with my sister. Like, just the episode before, literally, because these are so short, or these episodes are very short. We're talking, this was like 30 minutes before she tried to burn her sister alive. And yet we're supposed to believe that all of a sudden she's had a change of heart.
I love seeing the Wookiee in action. Oh, wait a minute. There was no action for the Wookiee.
The Wookiee looked like Harry.
Lightsabers can kill you again. Yay.
Yeah.
That's for one episode. Next week it won't be that.
Yeah.
Next week they'll go back to the little fruit knives.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
God.
The Wookiee looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
You got that from Terry. He said that
exactly.
exactly.
That's where I heard it from, but I went and looked at the picture. He does.
Yeah.
He looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
No idea.
This is badly designed. Like I said, badly written. Where the heck did the $180 million for this thing go?
In that dumpster that you just did a video.
Yeah.
It went.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it floating just a minute ago.
I mean, this thing is just bad from top to bottom. And go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say, you brought up a really good point. Even if somebody was walking into this cold, right? Let's say they got no Star Wars knowledge at all. They just sit down and they're just ready to watch a show. I think it would still be bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Even if you know nothing about any of this world, I think you'd still be like, I don't know what to think of any of this.
And I had somebody comment on one of my videos saying that if you were to take the name Star Wars out of this would be showing on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was an insult to the Sci-Fi Channel because this makes Sharknado look like Citizen Kane.
Oh, God.
I like Sharknado. So
yeah, that's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
I really want to hear what you have to say.
Dumb, fun movies that you just can't help but enjoy.
There's a difference between bad movies that are fun, like Sharknado. This is just bad. You can't even enjoy this. That's the difference.
Bobby and I talk every day. Derek and I talk most days. I want to hear from you, Lily, again. I really want to hear your story about Star Wars, what you think about all the other ones, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, about this, and what you think needs to be done.
So my backstory for Star Wars 2, where I came into it, is that my brother used to be a huge fan. And he's the one that kind of got me into all this stuff. He is much older than I am. So when he was watching the movies, and of course, my mom was like, all right, babysit your sister. So he would put on, I remember Return of the Jedi because I liked Chewbacca and I liked the Ewoks because they're furry. I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was, I don't care what anybody thinks about that movie. I love that movie. It has a lot of memories for me.
Awesome.
Return of the Jedi is a fun movie. Period.
It is.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. So that was probably my introduction to it. I didn't know what was going on. I just liked the little furry creatures. And then as it went on, for some reason, I was just really fascinated with Darth Vader because just head to toe black, very menacing. I don't think I knew he was a bad guy. And only until I was older, I was like, oh, oops, well, he's my favorite. So there we go. So for me, this has been like a lifelong thing too, that I didn't know I was into it because I was too little not to understand it. But until I got older, and then I actually got to experience them with my brother, the prequels. He's the one that took me to watch them. And then this year, since they released The Phantom Menace, I actually got to take my niece, his daughter, So we're just kind of passing it on, and now she's a Star Wars fan. So
Did she like it?
she loved it. Yeah, she loved it. So this means something to people, and I hate it when all of these people are just like, it's just a TV show. Like, why are you guys getting so upset about it? And it's like, because I don't think you tourists is what I like to refer to them as. They're not fans. These people are just kind of here, just like, oh yeah, the lightsabers, this is kind of cool, I guess. They don't have any kind of attachment to it, so they don't care. So I was kind of like Bob when I realized that I went to watch The Last Jedi, and I came out and I was like, I mean, it was pretty, I guess. So,
Yeah.
But I was the same way. I was like, there's no way I can't like a Star Wars movie. So I kind of let it go. And then my entire family went to go watch The Rise of Skywalker, and I came out of there feeling nothing. Like, not to be dramatic, but nothing. I wasn't excited. I wasn't even upset. I was just like, what was that? Like, wow. So then I kind of just thought about it and thought about it and thought about it until I came to the conclusion that I really didn't like this movie. I didn't like a Star Wars movie. So that got me thinking about The Last Jedi, and I was like, I didn't like that one either. And now come to think of it, The Force Awakens is just a direct carbon copy of Star Wars, A New Hope.
Yep.
So why would I even like that either? And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I like Star Wars anymore. Until I did go watch Rogue One, and I like it. I know a lot of people are like, well, everyone dies, they're going to die and blah, blah. But I'm like, no, it adds to the story.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I love Rogue One. I still think they could have survived. I don't know. I could have seen more movies with them.
That's actually my third favorite Star Wars film.
It's a really well done movie, because now every time that I watch the beginning of A New Hope, I'm like, oh my gosh, all the things that they had to go through just to give them all these plans. And actually, that has my favorite Darth Vader scene in it, that hallway scene.
Yep.
Just perfection. That's Darth
So
Vader.
good. So that movie over the top for me.
Yes. So that's a great movie. I really enjoyed that movie. And after that one, I was like, okay, yeah, I like this one. I have never seen Solo. I don't plan on watching it. So many people.
It's just boring.
No, it's a boring movie.
It's just boring. You know what? I don't think it's a horrible movie. I don't think it's insulting to Star Wars or anything. I just think it's boring. Like it's on the bottom of my rankings, but it's not because I hate it. I'm bored by it. I don't like it.
Let me tell you, Lily. The Han Solo in that movie is following a girl like a puppy dog. He's not a scoundrel. It's ridiculous.
It's Disney Star Wars.
I skipped it. For me, it was also a purely aesthetic reason. It just bothers me so much that this guy does not look anything like Harrison Ford that I just can't connect the two. There was another actor that actually starred with him in another movie that they chose to be
Age of Adeline.
Yes.
Yes.
That guy looked exactly like him. And I was like,
sounded like him.
Cast somebody who actually looks like the actor. But again, it's Disney Star Wars. So I didn't watch that. I wasn't planning on watching The Mandalorian because Jedi have always been like my favorite thing. The Mandalorians, I've always been like, I don't know. So I watched the first episode and I was like, maybe I'll like it. Hooked instantly. I was like, oh man, this guy's so badass. Like his very first scene, I was like, that's it. This guy's a badass. And then what completely did it for me was when they showed Grogu at the end. I was like, oh man, this like badass guy. And now there's like the cutest baby I've ever seen. Like, yes, I'm going to watch this TV show. So yeah, I was a fan until season 2. And then season 3 ruined my life again.
They don't know what to do.
And not just me, but like I had to, oh my God, I suffered so much through that one because I have a little nephew who's 10. So when The Mandalorian first started, he was like 7, I think. And that's his superhero. That's his version of a superhero. He loves Mando. season 3, I had heard so many things that Mando was gonna die, that Bo-Katan was actually gonna be the one that's, you know, the main character in the show now, which to a point she was. So when I was watching it with this kid, oh my gosh, I had to skip through so much so that I wouldn't ruin his favorite character. And I remember I let him watch the scene where he hands her the darksaber. I saw my little nephew's eyes just drain of happiness. He was like, why? Why did he do that? He's the hero. He's supposed to be the one that saves his people. Why is she doing it? And I was like, I don't know. So now he hates Bo-Katan. Anytime he sees her, he's like her.
But she had a good story arc in the Clone Wars. She was all over the Clone Wars. Bobby and I had a little different opinion about Bo-Katan in Mandalorian.
No, you know what? I liked Bo-Katan. I just didn't like her in season 3.
Yeah, I could kind of give her a pass, except that she's had the darksaber so many times and failed so many times. I don't know why they chose to go with it again. And I'm like, just. But I mean, you can tell where Jon Favreau completely stopped caring, or not caring, but they completely took it away from him, because those last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, I'm guessing were supposed to be the first 2 episodes of season 3 of Mando. That man that walked in there and like did a crazy job hacking everyone to pieces in that refrigerator thing is not the same Mando that we got in season 3. So
yeah, it's different.
Yeah. And then as far as the other TV shows, hated Obi-Wan. They messed up everything.
I was unanimous on that show too. Like I've never heard anybody who liked it.
I
like
didn't
the fight. I like the fighting.
Let me see what. The only thing I will give that show is that one line where Darth Vader goes, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did." That actually made me feel something.
Yeah, that whole scene is good.
Yeah, Hayden's acting with like half of the mask on. I was like, oh my god, that was so good. It's such a terrible show.
Did you see Star Wars Rebels?
McGregor and Hayden played that great. That scene.
I did watch Rebels. Yeah, so they totally.
No, they did this. Each side was the both 2 people who Anakin pretty much loved, besides Padme, was Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. And each time they did. So that was cool. Yeah. That was cool. It was Reva. Reva is what did it for me.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was just terrible. So Obi-Wan, no, I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole thing with Leia either. That was so dumb. I just finished reading the Darth Vader novel in Legends. And at the end of it, we get a little excerpt of what Obi-Wan's thinking. And somewhere in the end of it, he says that the only will that he's fighting to live at this moment, because he just lost his best friend, is to take care of his son. And I'm over here thinking, really? But you guys had him in the TV show, like, instantly be like, Luke will be fine. I'm just going to step away for a couple of days and everything will be fine. Like really? I just these people just, oh my god.
Hold on.
Visitors were just here, but
were you talking about the book Dark Lord Rising?
Yes.
I read that years ago. The ending was, first of all, you had Vader fighting Jedi on Kashyyyk, and then at the end, where you see where you could actually picture Obi-Wan in the cantina, and they say that the Emperor has a new enforcer, Darth Vader, and he just drops everything and he looks out the window and there's Beru and Owen with Luke.
Yes.
It's giving me chills right now.
Can you imagine if they had turned that into, oh my gosh, that book was so good. And that book was so like, it left me feeling so sad, because you know that Anakin, Darth Vader does so many horrible things, but when they get to him and he's completely like depressed, his only 2 choices are either die or just follow orders.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Darth Sidious tells him. He's like, so why are you still alive? Basically telling him, like, if you're not going to do what I'm going to tell you, do you think there's any other option for you? Like, so go die. And it's just really crazy how they write him. It's so powerful. And then he keeps talking about how he feels in the suit and he's trapped again. And I'm like, man, it actually brought me to tears. I was like, oh my gosh, like he's so menacing, but you're inside his head and he feels like he has no options. He was a slave on Tatooine, kind of a slave to the Jedi, and now he's a slave to
that's a good.
dark side. It's just that's why he's my favorite. I feel like he's just had such a terrible time with his entire life.
Do you remember that part in Obi-Wan where Bobby and I talked about this, where he lights Obi-Wan on fire,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he kind of just stops, but that's it. I told Bobby what should have happened is when he saw Obi-Wan in the fire, it should have been flashbacks of bad times and then good times, with him in the speeder with Obi-Wan and laughing and having fun. And then all of a sudden he gets him out of the fire. Like he loses that much. And even Bobby was like, oh my God, that is a really great plot line they should have done.
Well, what they should have done is it should have been the whole series should have been a character study of the two of them. And instead they made it about Reva. But like that same episode where you're seeing Darth Vader being put together right at the beginning, you should have had the flashbacks there of him being burned alive, fighting Obi-Wan, all the stuff he hated about Obi-Wan, showing him saying, I hate you. And then during the scene where he's dragging him into the fire, that's where he's seeing the good things that he remembers about Obi-Wan and pushes him out of the fire. Because then it makes sense at the end of the show when the Emperor asks him, are you conflicted about your old master? Because now it makes sense because he's had those thoughts still about Obi-Wan that are still positive. And so it should have been a character study, this show. And instead they made it about this Reva character and the stuff that they did with her, like her knowing about Anakin Skywalker being Darth Vader, that should have never happened. And the fact that she got stabbed in the gut not once but twice by Darth Vader, once as a child and she lives, and then once as an adult and she lives. I just, oh good Lord, that
ain't nobody staying alive after a gut shot from Vader. That don't happen.
It doesn't happen.
It's such a frustrating show because I think there are elements in the show that are positive and are enjoyable, but there's just so much stupidity in it that you can't help but overlook the stupidity. I mean, it's just every episode there was something else dumb, whether it was Leia running around and grown men can't catch a little 10 years old, a little 10-year-old girl, and they're sitting there just running into a tree. I mean, and not just like, that the tree, that they didn't see it and slammed into it. They're like 10 feet away, and then they still run into the dang tree. It makes no sense. Just a lot of the stuff in that show was just so stupid. Or like where they're at that checkpoint with the laser beams. They could have just walked around it, but instead you see Obi-Wan shoot it so it disappears. And the thing is, that would have made sense if they had gotten back into the vehicle and gone across. Then it would have made a sense. But they didn't. They walked through it. It's like, well, you could have just walked around it.
I just can't believe. Or go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say it's little stuff like that, or when he's hiding Leia in the trench coat, or like, come on, like and they're walking through, and no stormtrooper, no officer, nobody's saying, "Hey, wait a minute, something's not right here." They just keep walking like it's okay.
No, I can't believe when she's like, Obi-Wan, he knows he's alive. Anakin Skywalker, and like Bobby and I have said, only 3 people or 4 people have known that Darth Vader and Anakin are the same. Obi-Wan, Grand Moff Tarkin, the Emperor, and Thrawn. Because Thrawn, in the comic book, I guess Vader did this really cool maneuver with the TIE fighter, and Thrawn, who was a political genius, was like, only one pilot could do a move like that, and that was Anakin Skywalker. But this one Jedi, this youngling who was like, oh, I know who he is. It's just,
and she could have actually been a good character. That was the thing. Like the way I told Josh is that she should have just been a really cool Inquisitor. That's all she should have been. Like she could have had a lightsaber duel with Obi-Wan. Still, she needed to lose it, but hold her own and show that she could, that she was just this Inquisitor, and maybe throw a couple of hints here and there that there's something a little different about her. But you don't explore it in this show. You could explore it in another show later on. But just introduce the fact that she has the skills to hold her own against a Jedi. Again, not win, but just show that she's powerful in the Force, and then later you could explain it. And if you had done it that way, people would have accepted her character a lot more instead of making her the focus of what should have been a character-driven show or a character study between the two characters we actually went to see.
And then they dragged Hayden out of retirement for that. And just, yeah.
I don't know.
I feel so bad for him.
And then to bring him back into Ahsoka. And yeah.
I'm sorry. I actually like the flashbacks of him in the armor.
No, that's cool.
No,
that
that's
was the
good.
only thing that I thought was so amazing, especially those little flashbacks where it goes between Vader and Anakin.
Yes.
Oh, chef's kiss. I'm
And
like,
wow. How do you save this all? You do a live action Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You bring everyone back. You don't add, I told Bobby today, you don't bring in a brand new Jedi. You have Ahsoka, you have Ventress, and you keep it the same. And let us enjoy. Let us enjoy the nostalgia with a good story.
Do you think this creative team can do that, though, Josh? That's the problem.
No. I was about to say, that's too much faith in something that's been proven now.
They can't do it. They can't do it.
No, they can't.
Didn't we have the theory that they should just blow all this up at this point?
I wish they would.
No, I know. I think we were serious about this. Like,
yeah,
they just like just wipe it all out. Just say, hey, whatever happened from this movie to this show, whatever it is, that's gone. We're starting fresh. We're starting new. And then we had the idea to start it all over with like the original cast, even though we can't do all the original cast, but enough of it, and then roll it from there.
And we'd be fine.
What you could do at this point is you fire everybody, at least all the creatives and heads of Lucasfilm. You turn around and you start fresh, and you're going to have to reboot. You keep the original, or you keep the 6 films.
Yep.
I'd love to keep Rogue One, but being that it's part of the Disney era, you may even have to get rid of that one. And unfortunately for the Clone Wars, you might have to get rid of that too. Which sucks because again, I think the Clone Wars is pretty good, especially season 7. I really liked season 7, but you just start fresh. You bring Luke Skywalker back, but you get Mark Hamill to come back, and you have him as the Yoda type character who is the head of a new Jedi Order. And you can introduce some new characters and stuff like that, but you make Luke prominent at least for that first episode. We've actually talked about this, Lily, that the blueprint is already there, how to revive a franchise. Cobra Kai, that is the blueprint on how to revive a franchise. You bring your original cast back,
100%.
and you look at the first season, Daniel and Johnny are the main characters. And by the end of the first season, the new characters are having just as much screen time as our main characters. Why? Because they developed them to the point where we now care about them. Like at this point, if Daniel and Johnny weren't going to be in season 6, which we already know they are, but if they weren't, I would still watch because I'm so invested in the characters now.
That's right.
And what should have happened is episode 7 should have been about the original cast. Episode 8, you give them less screen time with the new characters getting more. And by the last film, you've got your new characters being prominent with the originals having very minor roles and Luke being having the role of the Yoda type character. That's what would have worked, and fans would have eaten it up. I mean, it was right there for them.
And actually give us a scene with Han, Leia, and Luke all together.
That is a crime that we never got that.
Yeah, your boy J.J. Abrams screwed that up, Bob.
God.
Yeah.
I just, and the excuse they gave is they said, well, every time that Luke Skywalker was on screen, he just overshadowed everybody else. Well, he's Luke Skywalker. That's why. I mean, look, Lily, I don't know. Are you a Star Trek: The Next Generation fan at all?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, the only reason I asked is because I wasn't a huge Next Gen fan. I'm more of an original crew fan. I like the original cast. But the reason I asked is because I watched Picard season 3. I ignored the first 2 because I heard they were really bad, but I did watch season 3. And the director of this thing, or showrunner of this thing, gave us the crew of the Enterprise all together and put them on the bridge of the Enterprise together with the proper theme music, proper everything. And literally after that episode happened, I literally stood out of my chair and gave a standing ovation for that. And I'm in the middle of my house just by myself, and I'm giving a standing ovation because, and the reason why I did was because I was like, you know what? They got it right. They did it. What they gave the fans what they wanted. How in the heck could Lucasfilm not put Luke, Leia, and Han and Chewie together on the Millennium Falcon with 3PO and R2 in the background? How could you not do that?
And Chewbacca, Chewie.
Yes, how could you not
So
do that?
stupid. Because it was about Rey. It was all about Rey.
Because the Force is female.
Yeah.
So, Lily, you must be looking forward to the Rey movie then.
You know what? I am, because I want them to just make it exactly how they want to make it, and just let me keep.
I'm not watching. I'm not seeing it
on Twitter. It's actually really funny. Because of the Acolyte. Thank you, Disney, for making this so terrible. I actually got monetized on Twitter.
Really? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, one day.
Congratulations.
It was that bad that my tweets, so many people agreed with me, and they were so mad that all of a sudden I had a little thing that was like eligible for monetization. And I was like, you know what, Lucasfilm, Disney, don't mind if I do. Like, so I'm gonna
they should have paid you for watching that. They should have paid all of us for watching that.
I'm like, at least I'm getting a little bit of something for having to suffer through their terrible show. It's just, oh my gosh, it just pains me so much. I still had a lot of hope for them with Mando season 3, and they just every single episode I was like, oh, they can't possibly be ruining this too. And yeah, every single episode was just worse and worse and worse, and I couldn't. By the time I got to Ahsoka, she was actually one of my favorite characters. She still is, but Ahsoka was also just, I couldn't.
The first couple of episodes were good. The first couple of episodes were good.
So boring. It was just so boring to me. Like, I understand they want to make her a little bit more stoic, but Ahsoka was always really fun. I mean, hello, she had to hang out with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they're hilarious. So
Well, I think Ashley Eccleston should have been the one playing her. I've told Bobby that consistently. He likes Rosario. I like Rosario.
No, I thought she was fine. The problem is, I agree with you. I think they tried to make her a little too stoic, and I think that was a decision on for Lucasfilm coming in and saying, no, this is how we want her. We want to present that strong female lead, and that's what they think that is.
But think about what she's done, Bob, over the years. If she lost Anakin, she got kicked out of the Jedi Order. I mean, she's lost everyone if you think about it. So you could be a little serious / stoic.
You know, the problem I have is that I'm in the camp like George Lucas. She should have died during the Clone Wars. That's the way I feel. And then if she didn't die there, she should have died in her fight with Vader in Rebels, which to me would have been like the next step in him becoming fully Darth Vader.
Yes, because like you said earlier, he loved Obi-Wan and he loved Ahsoka. So he killed Obi-Wan. If he would have killed Ahsoka earlier, that's him completely in the dark side, because there's no coming back from that. How do you kill people that you love and not just be completely evil at that point? So yeah, I agree. She should have died when she was battling Vader. I mean, that would have been an awesome death for her. A lot of people would have probably
killing her. I couldn't see Vader killing. I know he, in a way, killed Padme, but I don't know. He really, the respect those two have for each other, and even like so many people, if you look in history at how many people fought Vader, and they were scared, and she wasn't. She was not scared. She went toe to toe with him. Even Ezra's like, "Oh, I need better training." You know,
That's another problem with the Ahsoka show. Ezra.
Yeah, I think that's why she should have died battling Vader, because she
Yeah.
had a little bit too much faith that her old master was in there and that he wouldn't kill her. And if he killed her, that would just be another thing that Anakin or Darth Vader would add to this list of these terrible things that he's done that he just can't find a way to atone for. He's just getting worse and worse and worse, just doing the Emperor's bidding, not really feeling anything anymore. And just, I mean, like we were talking about in the book, it's just he's compartmentalizing and locking Anakin away to the point where he doesn't even remember that he was Anakin, because he doesn't want to remember those things anymore. So I think he should have killed her. He should have.
But fate is not without a sense of irony, because when he finally goes against Palpatine, that's when he does die.
Yeah, true.
That's when he finally lets it go. And he stops taking orders. It's you die or you take orders. He stopped taking orders.
Exactly.
So Lily, is there any saving the Acolyte, whatever it's called? Can anything be done at all, in your opinion?
If by the end of episode 8, everyone's gone.
Not in a joke, that would have to make the most sense.
Yeah, that's
Now, are you including the audience in that, Lily? Because
yes, we're all going to be gone by the end of that. I don't even think, like, to be honest, if people aren't reviewing this to make content, I don't think anyone's really going to stick around for this. This isn't something that you're excited for week to week. Like House of the Dragon, it ended and I was like, no, I have to wait a whole week to watch episode 2. When this ends, I'm like,
Thank
I'm
God.
so happy. Yes, thank God it's not going to come out for another week.
Oh, God. If they do a second season of this,
Oh, wait, so is it pretty clear now that this is just a leadership problem on the Star Wars level, like with executives and all that?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely. It's Captain Kennedy.
Okay, look, it's one thing if you strike out and like you don't get a home run on every single thing. This is a human element, with writing after all. But what surprised me is that they keep doing it again and again and again. And they don't learn from their mistakes. So at that point, this is leadership and executives basically saying that they're okay with going in a bad direction.
Yeah.
And they like it. I don't know why, but the only way you really stop that is if you kick the executives out, you bring in new leadership, isn't it?
Yeah, they just have to be good, though.
And that's the problem. Who do you bring in, and will they change direction, or will they just be more yes men to keep doing what the current group is currently doing? It just, I don't know if that, I mean, I know that's the answer. You got to clean house.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you can bring the proper people in to clean house unless they are Star Wars fans.
They have to be diehard Star Wars fans too. They have to understand the history.
They need to swap out Dave Filoni for Jon Favreau. I thought Jon Favreau was doing a great job.
He was.
You can tell that all of the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 was mostly just Jon Favreau writing, because as soon as it got to Ahsoka, where that was completely Dave Filoni, it was terrible. It was awful. So I think they need to bring Jon Favreau back, because he actually is a Star Wars fan. And I mean, he kicked off the MCU with Iron Man, so you know that you can trust
my favorite.
So
homeboy can write.
I can admit it. I was never a comic book person, never a superhero person. As soon as I saw Iron Man, I was like, oh, what is this?
Oh, so
what
good.
What is this? This is
so
a great movie.
By the way, Iron Man expert, Derek, right there.
Oh.
More than Bobby and I.
Like, he's actually my favorite character now. I freaking love Iron Man. And then random fun fact. Yeah, I'm like, random fun fact that I'd like to bring up every single year is that I actually share a birthday with Iron Man. His birthday is May 29th.
Nice.
I'm like, so if you ever need to know anything about me, that's all you need to know.
That's awesome.
So as you start to get to know me, you'll be like, oh, it makes a lot of sense now.
Very good.
It's so
Yeah.
crazy. They don't get it.
They need to give Jon Favreau his power back, let him write, let the man do his thing. And I really, really was looking forward to Rangers of the Republic. And of course, that's where they started to just ruin everything, where they fired Gina Carano.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that was a big part of it too. I feel like they just derailed everything that he was building. He already had this plan for how he wanted everything to go. And I feel like Cara Dune was supposed to be related somehow to
she was supposed to be the lead, wasn't she, in the Rangers?
Yeah, she was supposed to be the lead. That's why it ended that way, that they went and gave her the
medal.
The medal of Alderaan, and she was like very salty about it because I mean all of her people got wiped out. So we were supposed to know more about her, and they just completely derailed everything that John was building. That made me really mad too.
It makes it even worse because you know that they've had good people working on it. Like the right people were there, and like you knew that they could make this right, but instead they just decided to be wrong over and over.
Exactly. Yep. And then I saw a tweet that actually went crazy too about someone pointing out that, you know, how the narrative is that, especially for male fans, that you guys will not watch anything with a female lead. And someone in this tweet actually pointed out, they were like, really? So you guys think that we're not willing to watch anything with the female lead? They're like, what happened in the very last episode of The Mandalorian? How many female characters did you have in that episode that none of the men were complaining about? You had Cara Dune.
We loved it.
You had Fennec Shand. You had what was her name? The other Mandalorian.
Sasha Banks, Bob.
Yeah, Sasha Banks. I keep forgetting her name on the show. But like, you had all of these women on camera being badasses, and I didn't hear anything from any of the men going, well, that was too many women in one scene. We need to do something about that. Like, nobody said anything because it was just cool.
Yeah, you know, that's all just... those are just excuses that they like to make for their bad product, and they like to hide behind that, and you try to use it as a shield. The problem is everybody's wise to that now, and we know that it's a bunch of garbage because you know, you look through history of film, and I watched this video that Drinker did back when Captain Marvel was getting released. And he was talking about how it was such an important movie because we've never had any females in lead roles. And as he's giving this whole monologue, he's showing all these great women in cinema all throughout it. And as I'm sitting there watching that, I was like, yeah, she's one of my favorite characters. Oh, yeah, she's one of my favorite characters. Oh, yeah. And there's just so many great female leads that we all look back and we're like, these are great characters. And they're just, but the thing is, the difference between them and what Lucasfilm has given us, they're well-written characters. They're characters that we can relate to, and it has nothing to do with the gender. It has to do with the human experience that we can relate to these characters, and because they're well-written. And that's what we want to see Lucasfilm give us, are well-written characters. And they're not. They'd much rather... they're so focused on messaging ahead of good storytelling. Like, I don't even care what message you give. There's some films that I've seen that are heavily messaged, but they're still well-written stories, and I can still get into the story, and I can relate to the characters because I can relate to the human experience because it's well-written. These are just not even well-written. It's just very poor. And because it's very poor, the messaging is right on the nose. It's beating you over the brow with it. And by doing that, you're turning people off right away.
You know what they're going to do for next movie? I know exactly now. The girl last night, the young Jedi, the one who was doing like the nunchucks, and then said, "Oh, I might have a crush on," and the pronouns. That's what they'll do. That's what Lucasfilm will do next. Let's do her live.
Lily, I didn't tell you my theory that I told Josh today. I told it to him as a joke, but he went and looked to see if that was actually something that was out there. I told him, you watch. This villain is going to be Darth Plagueis, and they're going to make Darth Plagueis a woman.
Oh, my God. I would go crazy. I would go crazy.
Oh no! Out of all,
Um,
honestly, out of all the Legends books that I've read so far, that has been my favorite book, Darth Plagueis.
Oh, really? It's I've never read it. I've never read it, but
You need to read it. It's so good. That's been one of the books that I absolutely could not put down just because it's oh my god, it's amazing.
is he the
Like,
most powerful Sith? Is he more powerful than Darth Bane and all the who was the other one, Talus or any, or were
um,
there more powerful ones than Plagueis?
I think he's supposed to be one of the most powerful just because, like, I don't want to spoil it for you because it's an absolutely amazing read. But because he's bringing a little bit more, I guess, science, if you will, into this whole thing of the Force. So that's where it comes from, where they're trying to create life and to keep himself from dying. So the whole
Right.
thing that Sidious is talking about. So you see his journey into all of these things where it leads into how Palpatine ends up being his apprentice, and where Palpatine gets all of these things that he says in Revenge of the Sith, well, which now are non-canon, but I still consider it canon. That everything ties together. But it's oh my gosh, it's such a good book. Like, I don't know, it's so bad. I have a fascination with the dark side. I don't know what it is. But
Hold on one second. I'm curious about something as you were talking about Darth Plagueis and everything. So he tells them about it in Revenge of the Sith. So they said the Sith had been extinct for millennia, but yet Plagueis, so nobody knew about Plagueis?
Well, that's it, Josh. The Jedi just didn't know of their existence. They were still around, but they just stayed hidden the whole time.
Plagueis
yeah,
stayed.
because you have to. I mean, I like I said, I consider it canon, even though Lucasfilm decanonized it. But if you read Darth Plagueis, this has been a plan that's been going on for a long time that Palpatine just barely put into action. Because, like I said, you actually see him become an apprentice, and look at how much older he is when his plan is finally, put into motion. So this is something that's been going on for a really long time. So I feel like they are hidden. They had all these plans, but they just needed to make sure that everything was going the way that they had envisioned it for them to act, since they have the role of two. And I think that's probably another reason why they really didn't know they were around, because since there's only two of them at one point, and it kind of seems like master finds an apprentice. When the apprentice finally gets to the level of the master, he can no longer teach him anything, and the apprentice is curious for more knowledge. That's when he kills his master. That one finds another apprentice, and all of them just keep finding more and more power and knowledge that they can kind of pass on to each other. So,
I want to read this book now.
Yeah,
I never read any books.
So awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I couldn't put it down. Like, I would get so mad when I would have to go do something else because I was like, no, this book is so good. Tell me more.
Oh.
So yeah, they just oh my gosh, I don't know. It's just so disappointing just to see how far it's fallen. It's so bad. They had so much material to pull from, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, I don't know, guys, we can't find any stories to make any good Star Wars. And like all the EU fans were like, what?
She literally said that. That's what's weird.
Yeah, it's like, are we a joke to you? Are the comic books a joke to you? The EU, like video games, even have a lot of lore. But yeah,
I want to see that. I told Bobby today. Or go ahead, Derek.
I'm just saying that told you all you need to know. When she said when you make statements like that, that's it. You bottom line it for everybody.
There's so much material. There's the time from episode 3 to 4 in the Empire. To see. I told Bobby today to see how the Emperor ruled. In Rogue One, you see like these stormtroopers who are just beaten down, worn down, filthy armor. Like what was going on? What did people think with the Jedi on Coruscant completely gone? Like they were the protectors, and they're gone. And by the way, did you see last night? No planes flying, no shuttles flying on Earth.
Yeah,
Very
Fury pointed it out. Yeah,
Is that like? Where's the $180 million?
In that dumpster.
It's in the trash. It's in the dumpster.
Coruscant. Wow,
Yep.
Coruscant looks like so, and this is supposed to be like the golden age, and Coruscant looks like, yeah.
Oh wow!
I mean, part of it looks okay to me, like that part and the robes. I'm okay with.
I hate the robes.
I just don't like
don't
the
like
story.
the robes
I just
either.
don't like the story. I'm not a.
It's because everything just looks too clean. It just
Yeah, it
doesn't look lived in.
It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It really
No,
doesn't.
and like when everything is like super gritty. And I mean, George Lucas has talked about this and a lot of other people. The reason why it looks like that is because they didn't have the budget for it. So everything, they kind of had to repurpose a lot of things. And that's what gave it that feel, is that these things are old that they had to repurpose. And now in the TV shows, everything is new and nice and clean. And I hate to remind everyone about this again, but like the awful Vespas on Tatooine in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh God!
Like,
oh,
God. Why was everything so clean? You're on a planet full of sand. I don't understand. Like in Phantom Menace, since that's fresh in my mind from watching it, you can see all of the characters have smudges where they've been working all day. Their robes are covered in sand. There's sand everywhere. In Book of Boba Fett, nothing. Everyone's super clean. Everyone, not a problem.
That's the most ridiculous show. You got this hardcore bounty hunter who would soon as disintegrate you if you so much as looked at him the wrong way. And next thing you know, I'm going to rule with respect. What the heck is this? This is stupid.
And I was so excited for that one too, because I thought they were going to turn it into like a mob TV show, because he's coming and taking over as the big boss, especially.
And that would have worked.
Yeah, at the end of Mando, where he comes in and like kills Bib Fortuna. I was like, yes, it's Boba Fett. And then he's all, no, guys, I'm going to rule with respect. I'm like, get out of here. I was like, oh, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Could have been so good. It could have been. There's so many things they could do. They could do a Vader show. They could do an Empire show. They could do Knights of the Old Republic. They could do a show right after the second Death Star explodes.
Yeah,
yes,
they could.
Not right now. Not right now with these people in charge, though.
Oh
I don't want
even
any
the
of that.
video games. The video games. Which was the one, Bob, that I showed you the clip that I said watch
I don't remember which one it was, but
God, where they blow up the second Death Star, and I said, "Oh my God, these scenes are really good. It's really good." And they combined everything. And I even told Bob today, Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland is a better game, is a better ride than the actual movie.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That ride is pretty awesome. Just some of that.
Yeah.
That's
oh
it.
gosh.
Oh yeah. All right. Are we done?
Yeah, I think we're done on the funeral for Star Wars. Well, maybe not even the funeral, because I think that happened years ago.
We can
We'll keep visiting the grave. Don't worry.
We can talk more about it next week. Maybe we should bring Lily back next week and the week after, and have me get gray hair.
We don't need to keep putting her through pain. Jesus.
But it's okay for me to be through pain.
It's a therapy session for me too, talking with other people who feel like I'm like, I can't believe that they've like reunited so many people in all of our pain.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so bad. We have to have like what do they call them? A support group now.
Yeah.
Because it's so terrible.
What is Lucasfilm saying today? Anything? I can't find any. Bobby loves this. I always Google right afterwards.
Yeah, I saw a statement from them earlier.
Please, Pittsburgh. Nothing to see here, please.
No, they're not saying anything.
I was looking to see if they would say anything about their mistake with Kiadi Mundi. I don't think they've said anything.
They're not going to.
And you know what is really stupid is that they're going to be like, no, guys, like we knew all along. Okay, so then why did your little people probably reach out to Wikipedia to change his age conveniently while the show was airing? Because you guys messed up. That's why. and you guys
The only
didn't know.
way this changes is at like the celebrations or one of those where anti-Star Wars fan, we show up and are booing.
Nah,
Yeah.
I don't even think they'll make it. I don't even think they would make an apology then or say that they were wrong. They're not going to. They're going to double down more. They're going to continue the road that they're going, and it's going to continue to get worse until somebody gets can get some guts over there at the head of Disney and turn around and get rid of this whole group at Lucasfilm and say, you know what, we're tired of you guys putting out stuff that people don't like and continually to get diminishing returns. You can only get diminishing returns for so long.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
catering to
I mean,
catering to slivers of audience. You're not catering to the masses anymore.
No,
exactly.
If you're gonna do that, then you're gonna lose a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah, like I saw somebody point out today, they're like, oh, so conveniently 80% of the fandom now just hates Star Wars, like conveniently. We all
So
just
you gotta
hate
work at that. You really
no,
gotta
that's not convenient.
Yeah.
That's come over time.
Yeah.
it. Like seriously, it's because every single project they just keep losing more and more fans because they're making it more and more terrible and hitting every single person. Like with me, Mando season 3, I was out. Now they ruined Ahsoka for all of the Ahsoka fans. Now they're ruining the prequels because they're messing up all the lore. They're messing up Darth Vader. They're messing up all kinds of stuff. So they're just losing people left and right because people are like, you know what? I am over it. I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah,
It's done. It's done. Watch the originals.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh.
You'll
You
still
guys
find
got anything else to say about this? Because
Yeah. A
well,
lot.
I know you got a lot to say, but
Okay.
I think we need to get into something that's well written here. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Save ourselves.
So after we've all had our little therapy session, our next topic, I think something we're going to enjoy a little bit more. We're going to be talking about House of the Lizard.
Dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing.
So we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon tonight. So earlier this week on Sunday, House of the Dragon season 2 premiered, and you know what, Derek, I'm going to let you start on this one. Now, Derek is real. He comes from an interesting perspective on this. Derek, what's your experience been with Game of Thrones?
Okay, so I am not gonna. I will be straight with you, Lily. I watched the first 3 episodes of the first season, and then I fell off the train. That was it. I tried. I'm like, I'm hanging in here because I gotta believe this is gonna get good. It just made it seem like it's gotta get on a good track here. And I think 45 minutes into the 3rd episode, I started cleaning my house, and then I was like, okay, if I'm doing this, then I think that's a wrap for me. And sure enough, it started getting good. But then I was like, dude, it's season 7. Look, it's too late. The train's off the station. It's gone now. Now you would think that there would be, some awareness when it came to an experience we had not too long ago, where everybody was trapped inside, and I could have just sat down and watched it. But no, I did not do that. So I only have those 3 episodes of Game of Thrones under my belt, and I only have this episode of House of Dragon that I was told to watch under my belt.
Oh my gosh.
So that's me.
Could you imagine the confusion? I was confused the other night. Imagine that.
Yeah, Bob gave me about
gosh.
5 texts where I was able to piece enough together. The first episode.
Oh God.
I give him a real basic recap of season 1. I told him, look, don't even bother with Game of Thrones. This is a prequel to that, so you don't need to worry about it. Just here's the basic concept of season 1. Now go watch the recap at the beginning of the premiere.
Did you like it, Derek?
Wait, well, hold on. Which, by the way, I felt like I was working for 23andMe when I was watching that show because I had to go back and look at a family tree just to see how things looked up every 5 minutes.
So weird.
Everyone's name is Aegon.
And I'm like, wait, that guy was named Aegon. No, that's not. Wait,
And they all have blonde hair.
Yes, they all have blonde
And
hair.
they're all
The
related.
guy is running the show. Like, I can't remember where. Forgive me, but the guy's running the show who has the blonde hair. Remember Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
That looks like he went to college. He's now part of a frat.
That's the best one.
So,
He went to college.
okay, so now look. To be fair, you watch the show, you get into it. I mean, how do you not? It was a lot of fun. But I'm definitely starting from scratch here, and I'm not upset that this is the way I'm doing it. But I can tell now I've got a lot of work to do. Like HBO has a page where you can get a family tree, and so it was very helpful throughout the whole episode because I was able to map stuff up. But if I didn't have that, forget it. I would have been dust.
God.
I will say this, Derek, when you get an opportunity, go back and watch season 1 because there are several time jumps in season 1, but
Okay.
it's very interesting to watch the characters as they progress, especially King Viserys, watching the journey he goes through.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like at the beginning, he's nice and strong, and by the end, he looks like the Crypt Keeper.
He looks
sad, and I like his character.
He was great, especially in the last episode he was in, where he limps his way to the throne and turns around and they call his daughter, or disrespect his daughter, and he stands up and pulls out his knife. I mean, you couldn't help but really get into it. This father defending his daughter's honor and whatnot. He was great. So I do recommend going back and seeing it. Yeah, it's the journey these characters go through in season 1 is really cool.
Yeah, I will do that. I did notice just by first glance at things that not only is he actually good, but it's not only well written, it's well acted too. Because those dialogue scenes are not easy to pull off. Because there's, it basically runs like a play when you don't have the action going on. And so I was really impressed by that, both the writing and the acting. So far I'm having a wonderful time. Give me a little bit because I got a lot of work to do. But so far so good.
All right, Josh, what'd you think of it?
Oh, I love the first episode. I loved it. I thought it was good, and I'm totally opposite of Derek. I've seen everything. Actually, what's funny is, so we always talk about it. Before we had our daughter, Charlie, we came into Game of Thrones a little bit late, and we started watching, we watched from the beginning. First couple episodes, I was like, okay, whatever. I really wasn't into it that much.
I'm not
and then
crazy.
episode 9, I won't give any spoilers away, but let's just say the word Ned, and I was like hooked. And then Red Wedding, where let's just say my wife couldn't watch it for a couple days, being pregnant. So I know all of it, and it's funny because I joke with Bobby all the time. When a new show comes on, Bobby goes, "Oh, I'm going to rewatch the last season." I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" Boy, my wife and I should have watched the last season because we kept having to pause and be like, okay, who was this one again? Who was that one again? And then, there's little things that come back to you as you're watching it. But good God, that ending. Well, first of all, my wife, the minute they kicked the dog, my wife goes, "Oh," I'm like, really? That's the part, not the killing of the kid?
No, the dog. Protect all of the animals.
Yeah,
do what you will to the child, but leave the dog out of this.
Yeah, leave the dog out of it. But I loved how it picked up. The one who I loved was what's her name? The narrator, the one who lost the son to the dragon. Rhaenyra. I never can remember her name. Not a word, but you could see the pain and anger in the eyes. Just not had to really say anything. And you could just tell something's, she's going to do something. I guess we lost Bobby for a minute.
He'll get back. Wait, Josh, let me ask you though. So
yeah,
when you said you get to the party late, like when was that? Like season 3, 4? Then you had to go back. Like
Lily will probably tell me. It was 2016, so I don't know. Maybe season 4? No. Shoot.
2016 sounds like it must have been late.
We were. Oh God.
2016.
The finale was when they had the. I think they were on the boat and all the dragons were flying. I think that was when we got caught up. Maybe.
I always lose exactly when the seasons came out, and I try to look at it because
we caught up fast though.
Yeah.
We were hooked.
And I usually know because like Pedro Pascal is like one of my favorite actors.
Oh God.
So so I usually remember,
you need to watch this show, Derek.
It's crazy. It's just I think it was easier for me to get into it because I like all that stuff, like all the fantasy type of things. Put a dragon in anything and I'll give it a try. Like one of my favorite movies ever is Dragonheart. I love that movie so much. So when I saw that this was, fictional world, but it looks, medieval times, there's supposed to be dragons and stuff. And I was like, what? Excuse me? I was like, all right, I'm still there. So I think it hooked me like the very first episode. Cause I mean, it's Sean Bean. How do you not? I love him. So as soon as they got to Ned.
So what did you think of last week's premiere episode?
Last week's premiere episode? So I loved it. I enjoyed it. I'll agree with you. All of those scenes that they gave us with Rhaenyra just completely destroyed, had me feeling some type of way so bad. And then what made it even worse is when she's on the beach and the wing comes in. And so I don't think a lot of people know this, but actually Lucerys's dragon Arax is actually the baby of Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax.
Really?
So it wasn't just Rhaenyra who was mourning on the beach. It was actually also Syrax too, because I'm pretty sure at some point she's like, wait a second, that was my baby too. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it when they pulled back the long shot and you see Syrax like let out that big growl too. And then it cuts away. So I'm like, that was probably Syrax like recognizing that maybe that was her baby too. So like you didn't have just one mother who was in mourning, you had two mothers who were in mourning.
That's interesting.
So that's crazy. So I loved it. And I love the fact that she literally said 4 words the entire episode.
Yeah.
And it was just
crazy.
Fantastic acting when she walks in and you can just see it in her eyes that she's been thinking. And then she just says, I want Aemon Targaryen. And you're like, yes. And then you just see Daemon put on his little black hood and you're like, yep, something crazy is about to happen.
Hey, you guys still there?
We
yes.
can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you, but there's no video.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just getting my camera.
Oh, there we go. Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry about that. I lost power over here, so.
Oh, yeah, there's a really bad storm happening right now.
Let me get the camera set up here. You guys keep going.
Okay. Now, Bobby and I talked about this the other night, was the fact that did Matt Smith's character, when he was talking to the 2 henchmen, and he said, go after, the son with the eye, did he say are they saying that he said off camera, if you don't find him, just kill one of the boys?
Or
did they mess up?
I think that was just them. I think that was just them being like, you know what? This is a really big place.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, before somebody finds us, it's about time before someone gets suspicious. Like, what are these guys doing at this time of night, just wandering like the castle? So I think they just kind of figured when they have that conversation between each other where they're like, no, upstairs is like the royal quarters or whatever. Why don't we just go up there and whoever we find, let's just get it over with there. But yeah, I love the episode. I am probably one of the fans that I'm not unhappy with the way that they did the ending scene. I just think it could have been done better because it was 1,000 times more dramatic and better in the book. And I feel like they didn't do it.
There's something I want to ask you, Lily, about the book, because you mentioned to me that the way it's being presented is that the show is what actually happened, where the book is presented as, well, this is what could have happened. Is it because the narrator is unreliable, or because, again, I haven't read the book, so like, what perspective is the book coming from?
I wouldn't call it unreliable. From what I've heard from other people who don't like this book is that they say they don't like the way it's written because you don't have, like, for example, if you read all of the other previous books, you kind of jump from character to character like you do in the TV show. So it's like, okay, this is John's section. This is what John's thinking. Now it's jumping over to Daenerys. This is what Daenerys is going through.
Right.
And in this book, it's actually not doing that. It's written through the perspective of like a maester. So it would be like if we were reading a history book.
Okay.
And we're not actually there. It's just people who kind of were involved in these events, but everyone kind of had a different take on it. So George R.R. Martin actually said that the show is what actually happened. And that's what's canon instead of the book where you have maybe 5 different people saw an event happen, but they each tell it a different way. So you can't really, so I wouldn't say unreliable. It's just, it's a different way of writing. Instead of just giving it to you from the character's perspective or like point of view, it's written like a history book. And I actually enjoy it. I like the way that they're writing it. It's cool. And I like that they tied it in with the show that he said, no, these are the actual events. So now you're like, oh, okay. So this person got it completely wrong, but this person was actually telling you how it actually happened.
Okay. Like, now, is George R.R. Martin, I forget, he is actually involved in the creative process for House of Dragon, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
what
he's
I thought.
actually overseeing everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Instead of finishing his last book. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's been 80 years. When are we going to get it?
Yeah, Josh, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's been, what, 8 years, 10 years, something like that since the last book. So, yeah, I know a lot of fans are really waiting for this. And you look at the way Game of Thrones ended, it's obvious they ran out of source material to make that last season with.
Bob, what did you got actually, Lost Power?
Yeah.
We were all talking about what we liked, and we talked about, Rhaenyra. I can never pronounce her name.
Rhaenyra.
How she, with her not saying more than 4 words, but the pain in her eyes and everything. And then Lily talked about the dragons, how it was. Explain to Bob about the mothers.
Yeah, so Lucerys's dragon Arax is actually the baby of Syrax, of Rhaenyra's dragon.
Okay.
So I don't know if you noticed. This is the way that I saw it. So there's a scene where Rhaenyra's like holding, I think it was like his cape or something that she took off of the dragon's wing. I'm not really too sure what it was.
Oh, yeah. And the dragon comes over and is mourning.
Yes, so then the dragon, they like pull out of the shot and then the dragon starts like roaring too. And I was like, oh my gosh, because the dragon, I mean, they have a sense of smell too. I'm pretty sure it smells, Cyrax probably recognized it and was like, oh, this is my baby. So it wasn't just one mother that was mourning, it was 2 mothers that were mourning.
Right.
So Bob, Cyrax is probably going to be out for blood. With big
time. What did you like about the episode, Bob?
So I liked right from the get-go, going back to Winterfell. I really thought that was great, because you saw a familiar place, you heard familiar theme music, you heard familiar names with the name Stark, and one thing about Game of Thrones, I was actually thinking about this earlier, is that it's a world with questionable morality, especially with so many of the characters, where the Starks are one of the few that seem to be or to seem to have a sense of morality to them. Now, not all of them, of course, because we do know that a few of the characters do get compromised a little bit in some of the decisions and stuff that they make. But when you look at the Stark men, for sure, when it comes to like Jon Snow or Bran or the oldest, what was the name of the older brother? The which one?
Rob?
What was his name? Yeah, Rob Stark. And of course, all of them. They all seem to have this sense of morality to them. And so when you're hearing Cregan, talking and whatnot, you just kind of get this sense from him that he comes from that same type of mold as the other characters, and it makes you feel good that you're here at Winterfell, you're seeing the Wall, you're hearing a Stark talk, and it brings you right back into the world of Game of Thrones, and it takes you to a comfortable place before it takes us to all the chaos that's going on. And so just from the get-go, I liked the intro to this thing. And then I know you all had already talked about Rhaenyra. I thought her performance, the actress playing Rhaenyra, did a fantastic job. You could really feel it. I thought the special effects were great. I also like the actor who played Aegon, because we've had, what is it, 3 different actors play Aegon at this point, or 2 different actors, something like that. And he only played Aegon for what? It was the last 2 episodes, 3 episodes. And so it was interesting seeing him step into this role. And it's kind of, you're trying to figure out where he's coming from, because in one sense, he seems to want to be a father that his father wasn't, and be closer to his son. I want to take him in so he can learn how to rule and whatnot. And I think he genuinely wants it to teach his son some of these things. And then at the same time, there's other times he seems like he's just blowing things off, just kind of doesn't care. So it's interesting to see where he's coming from. And obviously the ending is going to change the direction that he's going to go. But I just thought the actor did a great job with this character in this first episode, because I really wanted to know a little bit more about this character. And that really gave me some good insight into the character, that he's very conflicted. And so I really liked that. And then what's her name? Allison and Kristen Cole. Yeah. I love how she's all dogging Rhaenyra the first season about her act of infidelity, and just really dogging her. And then the first moment we see her in this thing, I'm just like, wow. Okay. So much for decency and dignity, and
they
and
did
whatnot.
that tongue thing.
Yeah.
And how much of a hypocrite Kristen Cole is too, because remember he was like, no, Rhaenyra, like, I want to be with you, and I'm not. You want me to be your? I don't know if we can say it on your show, but you want me to be your that. Yeah. And he was so offended that she just wanted to keep him as a boy toy, and now he's a little boy toy too. Allison, I was like, oh, you guys are such hypocrites. I hate you both so much.
And you get, at least for me, I got the impression this had actually been going on a little while, because this is only a few days after the death of the king. And obviously the king wasn't exactly in great health. So, I'm pretty sure, a little hanky panky was going on.
There's been hokey pokey going on for a while.
Yes. Yeah. This wasn't anything that just came out of the blue. And so the fact that she was just shaming Rhaenyra in season 1, and some of this probably was going on already, it just blew my mind. It just made me hate Kristen Cole that much more.
I
So-
hate them so much, both of them. I just every time, which credit to the actors that they're making me hate their characters so much.
Yeah.
But
That's good writing.
oh my
Hold on. I
goodness,
gotta write this. I gotta write this down because I'm still new here. 8 those 2. Got it. Okay. Good to know.
I can't stand them. Every time they're on screen, I'm like,
Yeah, Derek, because Rhaenyra, when she was younger, she had a little fling with Kristen Cole, and when Allison found out about it, she just shamed him. And then, of course, with Rhaenyra's other indiscretions that she had throughout the show, she was shaming her for that. And yet, you find out she's been getting it on the whole time. And I'm just like, yeah, God, you hypocrite. Yeah, and like you said, credit to the actor and actress because they really did a good job because you hate these characters. And then, go ahead.
To interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But not only that with Kristen Cole, but she's basically like with the foot fetish guy too for information.
Oh, that's right.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Did you see he was all disappointed when she comes up to him and he's like, I was told that you were indisposed. Because he was hoping to get his foot fetish
He was
on.
so sad.
And then the hand,
wow.
the way that
I don't-
Aegon treated the hand.
Yeah, I don't think they've touched on
Mhm.
that, but in season 1, Derek, we find out that I think his name is Laris. So he would give Allison information, but he has a foot fetish. So whenever he would go see her, she would have to like take her shoes off and like take her stockings off and like show him her feet. And I was like, oh my God. So she's doing all these really bad things too. And she was shaming Rhaenyra for all of the things that she did. So it's just a bunch of hypocritical people. You just have to choose the side that you think is less hypocritical.
Okay.
And for
And
me,
that's why
that's Team Black.
Okay.
and that's why I say that so many of these characters in this world that all of this story takes place in, there's the morality is questionable with everybody. The Starks are like the only family that have any sense of honor, and obviously, with Sansa and Arya, you see their morality get questioned a little bit during the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, but the Stark men, for the most part, keep that sense of honor that they have that Ned Stark had instilled in them. And so, it's just weird seeing this one family. And I guess that's why everybody liked the Starks so much as opposed to everybody else, because they looked like a decent family where everybody else is just like, they're just all messed up. Everybody.
Everyone's awful. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
they're awful.
you look at all the other families. You look at all the other families, and you're like, you're the worst. But then you're like, no, actually, you're the worst. Oh God, no, it's them. They're the worst.
I
so
think
that's-
Derek needs to watch Game of Thrones. I think you'd be shocked
Oh my gosh. Yes.
with the stuff that you would see. I remember Bobby watched it way after us, Lily.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what do you think? And he's like, man, this thing is nuts. Okay.
Yeah, I started binging it right before season 8. I was like, okay, I got to get on board with this. So I went and bought the Blu-rays to them all because I knew I was going to like it just because I'd heard so many people say how good it was. So I went and bought the Blu-rays and I just started binging this thing. And Josh was like, so what do you think? Oh, yeah, this is crazy. This is really good. And he's like, you haven't seen anything yet. And the moment we got to the Red Wedding, I was just like, I literally screamed out loud, and not like a scream of horror, but more just a scream of shock, like, why are you just, and I called him up. I was like, dude, you weren't lying, man.
I'm like, you got to the episode, and that was the episode that my wife could not watch it for 2 days afterwards. I'm like, we gotta watch this.
I can't hear that song without getting traumatized all over again.
You gotta watch Derek. Derek, you've got to watch this show.
It's just that good that we just can't spoil it for you, because once you get to it, you're gonna be like, oh, this is what they were talking about. But it's so worth it. I always like to warn people before they start watching Game of Thrones, though, is that they do run out of the source material. So by like season 6-ish, a little bit at the end of 5, literally just takes a big old nosedive, and it's like nothing makes sense. It's badly written, but I mean, it's still better than the Acolyte. So
Yeah.
there's
Well,
that.
okay, Lily, that's not the best bar to set us on like that.
I know it was better than until the last season, Lily. I thought it was fine until that.
See, I thought season 6 was good for the most part.
Yeah, I think I started checking out where they started running out of material, because I had read some of the books and I was like, what are we doing? Like, he hasn't finished the books yet, so why are we doing all of this nonsense? Like, all of a sudden you can see where so many of my favorite characters like just completely changed, and they just weren't the people who they were before. Like Tyrion was one of my absolute favorites. I think by the end of the show, he was not the same person that started, which I know they go through arcs and they go through things that change them, but a lot of the things that Tyrion did by the end they weren't things that he would have done. So that's why by the end of those seasons, I was like, no one's acting kind of, themselves. This is kind of weird, but I mean,
Tyrion Lannister, right? Do I have that?
Tyrion Lannister. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
So it was just
James
like,
come back to you. You're
Well,
like,
even Peter Dinklage turned around and said, they put these people here, but this is what that makes no sense. And
I mean, and Daenerys and Jon are actually my favorite characters in that, and they just ruined everything. They ruined everything. I was like,
the problem I had with so I liked season 6 for the most part. There were a few things here and there, but I thought season 6 had a lot of good moments in it, like the reunion between Jon and Sansa. I thought was extremely good, because here he had thought his whole family had been wiped out, and then he sees her, and same thing. She thinks all her family's been wiped out, and he's all that's left. They had it was a good reunion, and then of course the whole King of the North scene at the end of season 6 I thought was really good. So I liked season 6 for the most part. 7 is where it started dropping off for me, because it seemed like people were teleporting everywhere, as opposed to taking an entire season to get somewhere. Because Derek, one thing you'll notice when you finally do go watch Game of Thrones, the world is vast that this takes place in. And it takes characters almost an entire season, maybe even a season and a half, to travel from one location to another. And if it doesn't do that, it's because there was a time jump of a month or something like that. So it takes time to get places. But now it just seems like from 24 hours, they teleport from one end of the world to the opposite end of the world. It's like, where the heck did that come from? And then the final season, the biggest problem I have with the final season is that there was so much setup with several things that the payoffs just did not match with the expectations. Like what they did with the Night King and the way his story ended. That's not how it should have ended. They already had set up who the confrontation was supposed to be with. I mean, they spent an entire show setting that up.
I have a different opinion, though. Still,
Arya, she had this list. There's somebody specific she should have been the one to kill, as opposed to the way that character ended up. It's just, there's several things that there were setups through the whole series that when they got to the payoffs, the payoffs aren't there because it just didn't match with what was set up. And that's the problem I had with season 8. And I thought it was extremely rushed. I thought, because it was only 6 episodes long, Derek, the final season. And they have 3 episodes to resolve one particular storyline, and then the final 3 episodes to resolve a whole separate storyline, where I think they could have done 2 seasons, maybe 6 episodes and 6 episodes to resolve each storyline. And I think that would have been better.
This comes full circle back to Star Wars, because the directors of this were actually supposed to make a Star Wars movie. Yeah. So the reason why Game of Thrones season 8 was rushed is because they just wanted to get it over with so they could start working on the Star Wars project.
Oh, wow.
And of course,
never
that
happened.
Yeah.
No, they got fired.
They got fired because season 8 was a mess. So
Now I will give them some little credit because they did do well on the first, several seasons. And by any chance, Lily, did you see the 3 Body Problem over on
I
Netflix?
didn't. No.
Okay,
I
so
think
that
that's my list.
yeah, that was their next show. Now I haven't read the books, so I was watching it as a normie. And as a normie, I actually enjoyed the show. And when I did my review, I was actually surprised because it was one of my early videos and I ended up getting a huge response on it. And people were just back and forth, just commenting whether they were fans of the book or not. And there were some mixed responses on that. But most of it seemed to be generally positive regarding the show. And I thought it was a good show. So I'm curious to see where a season 2 will go. So I do think that they're creative. But I agree with you. I think they were so focused to hurry up and get to Star Wars that they really dropped the ball with season 8.
I think the only good fight was that Hound versus the Mountain, right? The 2 brothers.
Okay. Yeah, that was
okay, right?
Yeah.
It was to me. It was kind of a letdown as to because it had been built up for so long, and the way that it ended,
And
I was disappointed in that.
Cersei's ending too was really bad. Like the
That
way
was-
everyone's ending happened was just so.
How do you mess that up?
It was like anticlimactic, for the way that the show ended up. And I got to tell you this, Lily. So at the very beginning of this thing, like I said, I started binging it, and Josh had already seen the whole thing by this point. When I got there, and I said I had watched it before, or season 8. I lied. It was season 8 was going on while I was binge watching it, and so it had just I just finished the first season, and Josh asked me, what my opinion of the show was, and I said, okay, here's what I think's going to happen. And I called it who was going to end up sitting on the throne by the end of it. And Josh didn't tell me anything right away.
No.
He later comes back and he after I finally got to the end, and he's like, dude, did you read spoilers or something? And I was like, no, I didn't. And he's like, well, how did you know that it was going to go that way? And I said, to be honest, I just guessed because of how that character was introduced in the first episode. I just thought maybe it would go in the direction that there was tragedy and it would end in triumph. So that's just kind of what I thought. And then of course, as the show went on, my feelings started changing, saying, no, it's probably going to go this way. And so, but yeah, I ended up calling it right at the start, and it caught him off guard.
Oh my gosh. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things, the way everything played out and the way certain characters were.
Especially because of the prophecy that now we're seeing in House of the Dragon, the prince that was promised.
Yes.
True.
They completely threw that out. So I'm not even going to explain that to Derek so that when he watches
most of this is probably over your head, Derek.
Yeah.
I'm still.
And I don't want to like explain it and spoil it because I wish I was in your shoes barely watching it again because it's so good. So
I've only seen it all once, believe it or not.
Just be a little bit patient with it. You'll start to get into it once things really start rolling. You're just like, what?
And you'll remember stuff. Like I watched it one time and I've told my wife we should go back and watch it. And Bobby goes, yeah, but the ending was not great. Now you're in have a different opinion about it. But there were it was very easy to watch towards once you got, in my opinion, to that ninth episode, and you were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the case for most of the seasons where Game of Thrones. You got to see episode 9.
Yeah,
episode right before the finale, and most of them just threw you for a loop.
Don't get too attached to a lot of characters.
Well, yeah, I mean,
still Raven versus White Walker. Still disappointed. That's what I think should have happened, but it didn't. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Derek.
I'm just still trying to get over the foot fetish thing. I'm not.
It sounds weird, Well, it's because it is weird, but
Yeah, that is
when you actually see it in the context of it, okay, no, it's still weird, but
No.
but in the context, it's not quite as bad as the way we're describing it.
Right, but if you had watched Game of Thrones, you'd be like, "Oh, that's nothing."
Yeah,
it's
that's why I say in the context of it, where all these characters have questionable morality, it fits the world that it takes place in.
And you know what? Actually, now that we're talking about that subject, I actually like how in House of the Dragon we are not getting a lot of really graphic, intimate scenes. That was one thing that used to drive me crazy about Game of Thrones. Is
Not
that yeah? I don't think we. I hope they don't do any of that because I think it would take away a lot of the story. Instead of putting that stuff in, you could have added more story into it. And
I mean, it has its moments, but it's not as bad as Game of Thrones when it comes to
yeah,
that.
no, House of the Dragon, I think it's only been like the first couple of episodes, and then they kind of just don't do any of that until this one. And even that in comparison, I mean, you can't really see anything. It's not really very graphic. So I kind of like that they went in that direction. Like, not to be a big old prude or anything, honestly, but it's just it takes you out of it because you're like, ooh, it's gonna happen next, and then all of a sudden, like nudity in your face, and you're like, oh, okay, what? Like, really? I wasn't expecting that.
That's funny.
And then I remember when I started telling like my family about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we should like watch all the episodes every week together." And I was like, "No, we shouldn't. We really shouldn't.
No.
Like, we really shouldn't. That's gonna get so awkward so fast."
It could not have done that.
No.
Could not have done that.
Yeah, definitely not.
It was no, House of Dragon was excellent. I can't wait for this season. No, how many years apart are we from Game of Thrones from House of Dragon?
I think that one's also about
I think it came out in 2019.
Something like that.
No. I mean, in the storyline, is it 200 years before? Is it
Like 200?
I think it was like, let me see.
I think when it starts, it's like 200 years. But again, we have several time jumps in that first season.
Okay, so we don't really. I'm curious where it ends. Well, you read the books, but you said the last book hasn't been written yet, Lily, or it has?
Well, that's the last book of Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, so we don't have anything with House of Dragon.
Yeah, House of the Dragon. I think the thing with House of the Dragon is that I haven't read past where we are right now. So every single week, I'm reading up to where they are in the TV show. Because I don't want to spoil it for myself. I kind of did that with Dune too. I bought the book and I read like up to the first movie, and then I didn't spoil for myself for the second one, so I could be like, "Whoa, this is crazy." So I've only gotten up to the point in the book where the blood and cheese scene actually happened, and that's why I'm like, I liked it. It was so much more dramatic in the book that I wish they could have actually filmed it that way. Because in the book, they actually have 3 kids. So they have 2 boys and they have 1 girl. And for some reason, I don't know why they made the decision to only have a boy and a girl. Because in the book, what actually happens is that Helena has a routine that before bedtime, she takes the 3 kids to go see Allison to say goodnight to their grandma. So in the book, Blood and Cheese actually have this information. And they find Allison, and she's already being held captive in her room. And Allison's little chambermaid, they killed her off. So she's in there. And when Helena arrives with her 3 kids is when they hold them all captive, and they make Helena choose which one of her 2 boys she wants them to take. And her reasoning, there's another scene that happens too with like the little girl, but there's no way they could do that. I'm not even going to mention it. It's awful. It's disgusting. I'm not even going to mention it. Yeah. But they make her choose between the 2 boys, and her reasoning is, okay, well, one of them's going to be the heir of the throne and one of them's not. So I'm going to tell them to take the little boy that's not the heir because, it's not going to matter as much, I guess, in her head. And when she tells them, I believe the little boy's name is Maylor, the one that's not the heir, and the one who is Jaharis. So she says, I choose Maylor. Take Maylor. So, of course, they turn it around on her, and they actually kill Jaharis. They take the heir instead.
Wow.
And what makes it more dramatic in the book to me is that the little boy has to live the rest of his life knowing that his mom wanted him dead. Allison has to live her entire life knowing that Helena chose one of her grandchildren to be killed. And Helena has to live with the fact that her child knows that she wanted him dead instead of his brother. And that starts to have a big psychological effect on her. And it starts to completely destroy her. And that's where I think that would have made for a better scene, because this actress, I think, is so amazing with what she's doing too. She could have pulled that off so well. And instead, not saying that it's not terrible because it's still a baby, but I feel like they made her choice a little too easy, because it was either the boy who's going to inherit the throne or the little girl that this world doesn't care about. So she's like, of course, take the little girl, duh. So it just didn't have the same impact that I think it would have had without all these people having to live the rest of their lives knowing the choice that she made, and having the little girl up and being like, my mom wanted me dead. What the heck?
Wow, that's so disturbing.
There's that morals thing again that you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm actually reading an article that said that I think it's a cop-out. They were explaining that they couldn't do it that way because the children on set were too small. They were too young. And there's a lot of things that they can't subject child actors to.
Yeah.
And I'm over here thinking, yes, but there's a thing called editing. And there are also very realistic dummies that exist now that you guys could have spent a little bit of money on to get this scene better. And they explained how in the TV show, how when he goes to put his hand over the little boy's mouth, that's actually the dad of the little boy. It's not the actor that's playing blood.
That's a good idea. That's
dad. So it had to be the dad to do it so that, they're not traumatizing the kid. I'm pretty sure they did it like a game or something and cut away just before so that's why I'm like, no, you guys have a lot of like fancy camera tricks. You guys have a lot of editing. I think you guys could have done this better. I think you just kind of, somebody got lazy and was just like, no, let's just do it this way. We don't have to deal with more in this scene. So I don't know. I thought it's more powerful to me in the book than it was here, which doesn't mean that I don't like it. I wasn't happy with it. It's just, it could have been better.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season. And let me ask you, are you planning on still watching this thing, Derek?
Me? Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
This is not the Acolyte. Okay.
No, see, and I ask because as a normie, I'm curious to know what you think as an outsider, because I know Lily and Josh and we're all going to keep watching this because we're already invested in it. So it interests me what you will think of it, and if this is something that would bring you into this world to watch this.
So I have a funny story. Before we wrap it up here, Josh, you know my buddy Damon, right?
Yeah.
Damon's the guy who ordained. He ordained us out of
Married you guys.
Yeah, he married us. So he got into Game of Thrones pretty extensively, and I mean, it's not like you don't know that like seasons are happening. Okay, this is the last season, and I happened to stop by at the bar where he worked, and he was talking about it with somebody else, and I'm just like, oh, is this about Game of Thrones and the last season? And he goes, yeah. And while you guys were talking about all of this, I was like, oh, did you watch it? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, well, well, what happened? And he goes, okay, D, have you watched any of this? And I'm like, no, not really. And he just goes like this. I can't help you. And I said, okay, all right. Then I guess I'm sorry. And so then he walked away and we talked about football. We kept playing. It was fun. But I think that pretty much summed up everything you guys were talking about last season.
You guys want to talk about Star Wars some more, or no? Are we good?
No. We're done.
No. Not current Star Wars, that's for sure.
No.
By the way, Lily, I had a great ending for Rogue One before it came out. I remember telling Bobby this. I thought it would have been cool if you had seen the back of Vader and you saw all the stormtroopers ready to shoot the door down of the Tantive 4. And then that's how it would have ended, right before he was going to go right through the door.
Yes. They missed opportunity. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, he's my favorite character. I love him. I was talking about this earlier, that you know how in Disneyland they actually have like the actors walking around like in their costumes and stuff. So when me and my best friend went, because she was like, you know what, my kids are a little bit old enough to finally go to Disneyland. What if we take like a little weekend trip? And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna say no to Disneyland. This was before, they ruined my life. So we took our trip, and of course they had the line where it's like, yeah, come meet Darth Vader and Chewbacca, and I was like,
yep, I know exactly where.
Yes, so I was wearing a Darth Vader t-shirt because I was like, yeah, I want to meet Darth Vader wearing his t-shirt, duh. So when I walked in, of course they have like all the actors saying lines and stuff. So when he saw my t-shirt, he said something about like he approved or whatever. And then when I was taking my picture, I asked him, I was like, Lord Vader, I have a question for you. And then he's like said something, and then I was like, can I be your new apprentice? And then he tells me like he said something, and I can't remember anymore because I was so excited that he said yes. So he was like, yes, join me in the dark side and together we'll rule. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. And of course, this lady's like filming the entire moment. And every time I go back and watch it, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like,
you got to send it to us. We got to see this.
Yes, it's like a total little kid moment. I was like, oh my God. So I'm officially Darth Vader's apprentice.
And there we go.
You got it right from the source.
Yeah, that was so cool. I was like, yes, like I know they have like their little pre-recorded things that they tell you, but that was so awesome. That totally made my entire like nerdy life. I was like, yes, like I'm his apprentice. He said yes.
Yeah,
I remember the character that they completely missed out on was Captain Phasma.
Oh man!
Oh my God! Much better. Boy,
yeah. Oh man!
Gwendolyn played her so well, and
yes,
garbage compactor, and ridiculous. And then that Last Jedi,
and Finn too.
Oh God, Finn! Don't even get me started on Finn.
Yeah, I was so excited for Finn because I was like, guys, this is such a cool story. A stormtrooper turned Jedi, and then nope.
No, it's different.
No,
it was different. It was totally different. I still one plot hole is how Finn. So not Finn. Poe gets thrown off from the TIE fighter, and what does he do? He walks to the village and tries to get home too. And we don't know about it. I mean, there were so many weird things. Or when he's flying over and Finn goes, "That's one heck of a pilot." How does he know that's Finn?
I know. I don't know. It's
How
just
does he know that's Finn?
Because that's not Star Wars. I'm just kidding. Like that's fake. It's fake.
Not Star Wars.
Oh God.
All right. By the way, everyone, make sure out there to like and subscribe to our channel. We forgot to say that.
Yeah, I forgot to say that earlier on. So make sure you like and subscribe. If you missed last week's episode, we would love for you to go back and check that one out as well. And then we've got a special episode planned next week, which I think will be real fun. So we're excited about that. And Lily, we're really glad to have you on with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I want to take this. Usually, what we do at this point, we go ahead and talk about any social media we have. So, where can we find you at, Lily?
Okay, so you can find me on X at 300 Mirrors, and I do have in my bio my other links. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this other website, but they're called Criticless, which Bob is on as well. So it's really cool because they it's kind of like Rotten Tomatoes, kind of like all those other things, except that this is coming all from the audience. That's why it's called Criticless. So you get to put up your reviews on TV shows, movies that you've seen, and you kind of, go through things and you're like, okay, well, this person isn't getting paid by anyone. This is actually their thoughts. So it's a little bit more honest, I guess you could say. So you guys should definitely check that out too. And I have all my links in there too. My Instagram as well is 300.mirrors. And that's my YouTube, kind of connects with everything. And then, so just follow all my links there. And then usually I'll just post what I'm doing or what I'm up to that week. And Midnight's Edge Espanol, I'm doing weekly streams with them now as well. So that's on Wednesdays during the day. And I'm doing a couple of shorts for them also. So I'm kind of slowly trying to get more involved, doing more stuff, and hopefully starting a channel officially. But yeah, just that's where you can find me. I'm kind of all over the place, but mostly on X, making everyone angry.
And Lily, we'll put some of your links into the description below, so everybody will know where to find you at.
It's been bananas. I mean, Bob has seen it. It's been bananas. My tweets after the Acolyte have gone crazy viral, like super insane. I have everyone fighting in there. It's like all the fans versus all the shills, and I'm just like scrolling, watching all the chaos I've created, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's been fun to go over there and watch that.
Yeah, it's been insane. Oh my gosh.
So that's how you get everybody slinging words around about that Jennifer Lopez movie.
Oh, yeah.
Taking lessons from her.
Oh, yeah, Lily, I had everybody fighting on that one because, I told you I didn't particularly like Atlas, and you've seen my videos on the movies and stuff I like. I'm a lot nicer. On the stuff I don't like, I tend to be a lot more sarcastic. Yeah. And so I was a little let me rephrase. I was a lot sarcastic on that video, and I had one person tell me I shouldn't quit my day job. And so,
these people get so rude. They really do. Like just because, because they don't. I mean, you can't see the other person. It's just a little random avatar that they're using. So I guess that to them means that they can be rude and hateful and whatever. It doesn't come back to them. So I've just been muting a lot of these tweets that go crazy because they say some of the most horrendous things to you and they really don't care. And sometimes I'll read some of them and I'm like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Why would I go through and start fighting with all of these people? You can't convince them of anything. And that's why I call them tourists, because they start bad mouthing the prequels and the original trilogy. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even speak to you. Like, how are you going to bash literally the original thing made by the creator to tell me that this stupid show is better than that? Yeah. Like, I had somebody tell me that I made fun of the entrance of this villain because he just kind of floated in. It looks silly to me.
It's the new Mary.
I laughed. It actually made me laugh out loud because I was like, what the heck is going on?
I didn't even see it at first. It was such a dark shadow. I was like, is that something?
Yes. And then I didn't even notice until somebody pointed out that this person is the same height as OSHA. Like, ooh, how scary that someone's 5'2". Like, what?
Hey, I'm 5'2". Well, I'm 5'2". 5'4".
So she's like, oh my gosh. So I had people in my mentions, in my replies telling me that, oh no, Count Dooku did it in the Clone Wars, Darth Vader's done it in video games. And I'm like, yes, guys, but the difference is that Dooku and Vader are actually scary. We know them already. It's like if these guys are coming towards you very slowly, it's because they know that you're done in about a minute when they get to you. I'm like, we haven't established this villain. We don't know anything about them except for that cringe scene on the beach where they're like, oh yeah, the dream is dead or whatever they were saying. I'm like, they haven't pre-established that this is someone you should be scared of. And I'm like, when Vader and Dooku do things like that and they're like floating towards you, like, don't even run. You're done.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody tell me that this villain's entrance was better than Darth Maul's introduction. I was like,
my God. I want to, can you
Yeah.
send me that person's, mascot? I would like to talk to them. Can you just,
Josh, you've had enough of this today.
oh, no. Yeah, no. I want to know who this person is.
yeah, that's what they said. And a whole bunch of other
It
people.
was probably Leslie Hiddleston or whatever her
Oh
name
my gosh. Yeah. And the bad thing is that a lot of these other people agreed with that person and they were like, yeah, that was so corny and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, get out.
Oh my God. I'm done. I'm done.
You're excused.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's what I've been getting. And they're like, well, you just didn't get it. You need to, this is the new thing this is the new NPC update. Now they're saying, oh no, it's because you guys are so media illiterate. That's why you guys don't understand the Acolyte. I'm like,
Oh, I give up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I need to know these names. I need to know these names.
like
God.
it's just
Yeah,
just
it's
these people
Friend
are-
people, Josh. Gosh. Oh,
and
good
then
Lord.
you can't speak to them. You can't say anything because I tweeted out about Kiadi Mundi, and then I literally had people in there telling me that's probably his dad, and they have the same name. I'm like, are you brain dead? Like,
They put it in. Look, I didn't know if it was him or not until the end, until they said it. Everyone was like, well, is it him? Maybe it's the same. Because, you had Yoda Waddle or whatever his name, what her name was. That was the same species. Okay. Or Grogu. But, yeah. I don't know.
yeah, it's exhausting. That's why I just mute. I don't even try to talk to them. These people don't know
No.
anything about Star Wars. I'm just like, not even worth it. You guys are
Ugh.
tourists.
If you
Nah,
start
just
rolling
kick
in the
back
mud,
and-
start rolling in the mud with them, you'll never get out.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Like some guy was trying to argue with like 3 other people that I was looking at about the critic scores and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, you guys are just so like exhausting. Like, how do you live being this exhausting? Standing up for like, do you guys realize that you're wasting all this energy trying to defend a show that sucks? Like, it really, really
No, they
like,
don't. They don't realize that. That's therein lies the problem.
it's just so bad. Like, I don't understand how they don't think like if you have to defend a show this bad and fill in the blanks of how bad it is, maybe it's not a good show. Like if you have to explain why Kiadi Mundi's in there and like do all of these like flips, mental gymnastics to explain why he's there, maybe, just maybe it's not a good show.
No.
No.
Yeah, let's move on.
All
It's
right.
just so bad.
Well, just kick back and enjoy the monetization of it. And
Yeah, exactly. You get paid. That's right.
there you go. So, well, Derek, where can we find you at this week?
You can find me looking wrinkly and old like that bastard Palpatine over on LinkedIn and Facebook with all the other old people.
Oh my God.
All right, Josh, what about you? Where are you at?
Oh, you can find me all over. You can find me on Instagram, Family Man of the Valley. I'm a realtor here in Southern California. Lily, tell everybody that you know to follow my my page if they want to see some cool houses. I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
All right. And for me, as always, you can find me over on YouTube at Was It Good at Bob Loves Movies. Having some fun over there, and of course having some fun over here. And like I said, we're going to have a special episode next week. Once again, Lily, thank you for joining us tonight. We had a
Thank you,
blast
Lily.
having you on.
Thank you guys so
Yes.
much.
No,
This
Come
was
back
so
on, please.
fun.
Come back on.
This was
Yeah,
so
come
much
back on.
fun, definitely. I'm
No,
so
we-
glad that I finally got to meet you guys because Bob's always like, yeah, my friends. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love talking to people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, no,
Come back on.
and like I told you, Lily, when I asked you to come on, I couldn't think of anybody better that I would want to come on who is passionate about this stuff like you are, and that's why I wanted you on here, because I knew that you'd come on and you'd fit right in with us talking about this. So once again, thank you for coming on.
I'm
Thank
trying
you
to fight
a lot.
the fight, guys. And then I wore my t-shirt today. I can't even see it, but it's my Cara Dune t-shirt.
There we go.
Fight the Empire.
Very cool.
Welcome to the rebellion.
There we go. Well, once again, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you all next week again for a special episode. Thank you for tuning in, and you all have a great evening.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.